Howdy, y'all. We are going to talk about Croak and Slann today. Which one are you putting in your army? Which one's better? Which one should you build? Croak or Slann? So we're going to look at those and see what the difference is, when you should run one or the other. So let me know what you're running. Do you like Croak in your list or do you like Slann in your list? Hit the like button for Slann and hit the subscribe button for Croak. How about that? Here's I got their points values up here on the screen. So Croak is 320. He is a unique character, so you can't add any command traits or artifacts to him, but he does get to take spell lore, so that's useful. The Slann, the regular Slann, is not named, so he can be when he's your general, he can take a command trait, take an artifact otherwise, and also get his spells. He's only 260, so he's 60 points cheaper. Is he worth it? The extra 60 points for Croak. We'll look at that and see. You're going to see a lot of these in Seraphon lists. So every list that I've had either has Croak or Slann in it. Even if you're focusing on Coalesced and Kotal's Claw, yeah, Croak is still in there. Slann is still in there. One of those guys makes the list. They're just too useful. You do see a lot of people saying that Croak is just OP. He's broken. A lot of people suspecting that he'll get a points increase in the GHB 20 this year, but I'm not sure. At 320 points, he's not cheap, and you really got to invest some more points into him if you really want to make him, really utilize his power to the full potential. At just 320 points, he's not doing a whole lot turn one other than generating some command points and casting, one spell that might hit their lines. So I personally think he's costed well because I think you have to put so much more into him. The Slann, I don't think there's too much debate about his cost. He is 60 points cheaper, but he doesn't have as much toughness as Croak, and he doesn't have the spammable spell, which we'll get into. One interesting note on these guys before we get too deep into the weeds, I think that they're actually a pretty good ally for Stormcast. Either one of these guys you want to take because they can generate command points, which Stormcast really likes right now, and they have some board-wide spells and unbinds. And so I think you might see them pop up in some Stormcast lists. Lord Kroak makes a perfect just one-unit ally, decently tough on his own. Slann you might see show up with 1 unit of guard or 100 points, and so that would be 360. That would fit under your ally pool points, so you might see them pop up there. But let's look at the differences. We're going to start with the Slann just so we can look at his war scroll and compare that to what happens with Croak when we upgrade the Slann to Croak. So the Slann and Croak is the same on these things. They both have 7 wounds. They both have a move of 5 inches, 4 up save, and 9 bravery. Where we'll start to deviate a little bit is on their weapons. So the Slann has Azurite Lightning, which is a range of 3 inches, 6 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 and 1 damage. Honestly, you don't want Slann or Croak really in melee. They're going to do a little bit of damage here with 6 attacks. That's fine. You might get 1 or 2 through. If your Slann or Croak is in melee, you're probably in trouble, and he's probably going to die anyway. So don't rely on these melee weapons to do much other than maybe take out, a support hero or something, or if somehow you get him in and need to put 1 wound on something, he might be able to do that. Both of them can fly. They both have, they're sitting in their little chairs there, and they can fly. Their abilities, they both have the Arcane Vassal. And so when you're casting a spell, you can pick a Skink Wizard that's within 12 inches of it, or an Oracle, which is a Skink Oracle on Troglodyte, anywhere on the battlefield. And if you do that, then you can measure the range of the spell from those other characters. And so that really actually increases their range of the casting, especially if you have some small Skink Wizards that are running around the table, which a lot of my lists have those in it. I haven't really fit in a Troglodyte yet. I'm not sure. He needs a point reduction, I think, before he's real useful. But it is kind of nice that it's anywhere on the board. if you do want to try to game plan for a Troglodon. The Slann has Foresight. At the start of your hero phase, roll 2 dice for this model. For each 4-up, you receive 1 command point. And so the Slann gets to roll 2 dice at the start of each hero phase, at the start of your hero phase, and hopefully get some command points back. So you should average 1 command point from the Slann back, which is pretty nice. So over the course of the game, he theoretically makes up his points value on those command points. Masters of Order, add 1 to casting, dispelling, and unbinding for this model. And also you can unbind anywhere on the field. So pretty standard for that. That +1 to casting, dispelling, and unbind is actually pretty nice. It makes the Slann and Croak, who has the same thing, pretty good at casting. And there's ways to buff that. You can add the constellation from the faction abilities to that to add another +1. And there's some other ways to do that as well. We'll get into. The magic. This is a wizard. He can attempt to cast 3 spells and unbind 3 spells. So his special spell, which is Comet's Call, you'll see this one on a couple of different things. The Slann, Croak, the Troglodon, they all have this same spell. And so if you're taking more than 1 Slann, which, there are some kind of goofy lists where you take, 1 Croak and 2 Slanns or something, only 1 guy can cast this spell. So Comet's Call has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, you can pick up to D3 different enemy units anywhere on the battlefield. Each of those units suffers D3 mortal wounds. If the casting roll was 10 plus, pick up to D6 different enemy units instead of up to D3. So this is the board-wide, mortals. This is how you snipe off the little support heroes that the enemy has. You cast this one. You pick either D3 or D6 depending on your casting roll, and deal them some mortals. This is an awesome spell. You're going to try to cast this every time with your Slann. Turn 1, you're probably not going to have a lot more to cast. He does able to take some spell lore, and there's 1 or 2 that has 24-inch range, and so you might be able to get those off if you bring a Balewind or something. But this Comet's Call is what you're taking the Slann and Croak for. Being able to just kind of dink and dunk these mortal wounds all across the board is incredibly valuable. It usually means by turn 2, you might be killing those tiny support heroes that they have on their team. And so that makes it to where they want to get rid of the Slann or Croak as quick as they can, but if you've deployed correctly, they won't be able to. Command abilities, you can use this command ability in your hero phase. If you do so, pick 1 friendly Seraphon unit wholly within 18 of a friendly model with this command ability until the next hero phase. That unit can fly, and you can add 1 to save rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target that unit. You can only use this command ability once per hero phase. This changed from the last battle tome that basically had the same thing, but it was a bubble. It was a AoE command ability, which was kind of nice because you could make your whole army fly basically. Now you can only do it 1 time, so that kind of stinks, but it is what it is. When you need it, you have it. If you need to make something fly to get over an obstacle or shoot off a Carnosaur or a Stegodon, then it's kind of nice one to have. So that's basically the Slann. Nothing too special, but some good stuff there. Let's look at what the Croak has different. So Croak, and this may be hard to read on YouTube here. You'll just have to pull it up while I'm reading it here because it's so small. He has a lot of the same stats. His starting from the top and going down, his melee weapons is different, and he has an Azurite Force Barrier, and its attacks is actually based on the number of enemy models within 3 inches. So they've kind of put Croak as like a horde killer wizard here. So if by chance you ended up with Croak into a bunch of plague monks or something, he could actually do some damage. But I find if I've gotten my Croak into a horde, I'm not playing correctly because he'll get killed. I mean, he has 7 wounds, 4-up save, and a 4-up after save. But if you're getting into a horde, he's going to go down. And so there might be cases where you have him maybe like in the Realm Shaper engine, the terrain piece, and maybe somebody's charged that. And now you've got, a big 6-inch by 6-inch square that you're measuring from. But I wouldn't count on that as a strategy. So this is kind of an odd way to put his attacks. But if it comes up, it will. I haven't had a chance to use it against hordes very often, so maybe it has for you. I don't know. He has a lot of the same stuff though. Arcane Vassal's the same. Impeccable Foresight, you actually get an extra dice. So when you're rolling for your extra command points, instead of the Slann who rolled 2, Kroak gets to roll 3, so you get an extra command point there, or a possibility of one. He also has that 4-up Feel No Pain. So if you're taking wounds or mortal wounds on a 4-up, he can ignore those. His magic is really where he is kind of unique versus the Slann. He does get 4 spells, so he gets an extra spell in there. And he has a unique spell called Celestial Deliverance, and that you can actually cast it up to 3 times. So it says down there it has a casting value of 7 the first time it's cast, and then an 8, and then a 9 for the next 2 times. So it progressively gets harder and harder to cast. This spell, each time it's cast, you pick up to 3 different units, wholly within 10, or not wholly, just within 10 of the caster, invisible to them. Roll 1 dice for each unit you pick. On a 2-up, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Chaos Demons just suffer a flat 3 instead of D3. So this is very short range, 10 inches. So on the surface, just this War Scroll, you don't really want Kroak being within 10 inches of anything. And so I think this is where he's costed correctly. At 320 points, you have got to send him in like a combat roll, which he's not really going to survive that long in a combat roll if you're willing to get him within 10 inches of something. And then on a 2-up, so you might still fail, you'll do some mortals. So you're going to have to cast it. You've got to go through the 2-up roll, then you've got to do a D3 roll. So you've got some gates to go through to where even though it's spammable, it's not going to be doing a crazy amount of damage unless you're just completely surrounded. So the way people end up using this to cause a lot of damage is they add extra pieces. So they add like the banner, the Astrolith banner, and the Balewind Vortex, and then have a wizard out in the field that he can cast it through. And so I think when you add all those support pieces, he feels overpowered. But it's because you've added an extra, 300 points, 400 points to Kroak in order to get this off. And so I think a lot of times people look at Kroak and say, this guy is overpowered. He's should be way more than that. But then when you look at what else you're having to invest into him, I think so he does have some differences there between the two. I wanted to highlight real quick the guard before we go too much further. The guard do have a special rule here that when, it's this one right here, when you roll a dice before you allocate a wound or a mortal wound to a friendly Slann while it's within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability. On a 2-up, you must allocate that wound or mortal wound to a friendly unit with this ability that's within 3 inches of the Slann instead of to that Slann. So basically, if your Slann or your Kroak takes damage, you'll have their armor save, their 4-up armor save, and then they can pass it off to here, to the guard, before they roll their Feel No Pain for Kroak, or before you allocate the wounds for the Slann. And so I think you're going to see guard a lot with those two, because it makes them a little bit tougher. You'll have 5 guard for 100 points, and they have 2 wounds each, so that's basically just adding an extra 10 wounds to Slann or Kroak, based off that 2-up roll. So they're worthwhile. They're quite good in that list, and they are battle lines, so they'll fulfill a battle line role as well. So let's look at the two Slann and Kroak and see what I wrote up a little chart here. Let's see what columns they fill out. So they have the same move, the same wounds, the same save. Kroak is the only one with the Feel No Pain, so he wins that column. They both have the vassal support. They generate command points, but Slann only has a chance to generate 2, where Kroak has a chance to generate 3. So Kroak wins that column. They both have a casting bonus of 1. Comet's Call, yes. Kroak does have the extra unique spell, that spammable spell, so he wins that one. Their command ability is the same. Can they take a command trait? Only Slann can do that, so he wins that column. Can they take an artifact? Only Slann wins that one. Spell lore, they both have that, and they can pass off wounds to the guard. So overall, Kroak's winning it so far. Let's look at what the command traits we can put onto the Slann are, because maybe we can make up some ground there. So our command traits for the Slann, if he's going to be your general, which if you're taking a Slann, you're probably putting him as your general. I don't think you're gonna put Croak as your general ever, but if you're taking a Slann, chances are he's gonna be your general. And I actually like all three of these command traits. So the first one is Arcane Might. You can re-roll one casting, dispelling, or unbinding roll for this general each hero phase. Okay, so he's got 3 casts. He's +1. You can easily get him to +2 from the constellation. You can get him another +1 from the banner. And so if you've got these pluses to his casting and he's re-rolling, now you're almost guaranteed to get off those board-wide mortals. So I really like Arcane Might for the Slann. Second one is Vast Intellect. This journal knows 1 extra spell from the lore of Celestial Domination. So this is from the spell lore. It's pretty good because if you have an extra spell, the Slann already has 3 spells to cast. He has his unique one. He has whatever spell lore he'll take, and a lot of times you're left with the other one. Okay, I'm going to cast Arcane Bolt or Mystic Shield, which are valuable spells, but if he can take an extra spell lore, that makes all 3 of his spells worthwhile. With Croak, you don't normally have that problem. You have his spammable spell if things are in range, which usually turn 1, they're never going to be in range, so you're out of stuff for him. But here you can get the Slann extra spells so that he makes sures and has stuff that you can cast. The third one is Great Rememberer. No, this is not double teleports. That was gone from the last battalion, or last battle tome. But, a Great Rememberer. If this general is part of your army and on the battlefield at the start of your hero phase, roll a dice. On a 4-up, you receive 1 extra command point. So basically, this brings him back in line with Croak. Croak's, generating up to 3 command points per turn. With this command trait, the Slann is doing the same thing now. So if you're really needing those command points, but don't really have the extra 60 points in your list for Croak, bring the Slann, give him this Great Rememberer, and then you can get back up to those 3 chances at command points. So, some pretty useful ones. I really like Arcane Might on the Slann if he's a general, as that makes his casting pretty good. Let's look at the artifacts. Now, I'm not going to go through all these because I don't think a lot of them are all that good. Like Zodiac Dial, I'm not ever taking this one because you're just rolling a random dice, and that battle round, it has good stuff for you. No thanks. Light of Dracothian, nope, I don't want him within 15 inches of an enemy, so I'm not taking that one. Same here, I'm not taking this one. I don't want him within 12 inches of the enemy. Throne of the Lost Gods. I mean, this one's okay. You get extra movement and 1 extra wound, but not nearly as good as the other ones. This one right here is the one I think I would always take on my Slann if I'm taking an artifact. At the start of each hero phase, you can heal 1 wound, so that makes the Slann a little bit more resistant. In addition, in your hero phase, you can reroll 1 casting or dispelling roll for the bearer, and in the enemy hero phase, reroll 1 unbinding roll. So now, if you're taking this Ixi Grubs, however you spell that, I don't know, plus Arcane Might, you're rerolling 2 casts or 2 dispels or 2 unbinds. I mean, you all of a sudden he's becoming even more of a spell casting powerhouse. I really like that one. This one, I'm not really ever going to take that one either. So it might have a case where if you're in Draco's Tail or something and you're dropping him down within 12 inches of a hero, then that would probably be pretty good to make him fight last. But usually if somebody's within 12 inches of my Slann or my Croak, things aren't going my way. So I think we can get Slann up to the same level as Croak using some of these things, make them pretty useful. So when do you take them? I think I'm taking the Slann when I need the Slann to be the general, and that can be just because of the way my list works out, or if I'm taking something like a sub-faction where I don't like their command trait that they're forcing me into. Sometimes you can fit a Slann in instead of the named thing that they're saying in those sub-factions. They're like Kotal's Claw. If you don't have a Saurus general, you can make a Slann the general, and he doesn't have to take the dominant predator. I'll also take a Slann if you need the extra 60 points in my list. Or if I have Source Guard. Source Guard, they can fill in a battle line for me and take some wounds off the Slann, and you almost don't need that Feel No Pain anymore. And so that'll save you an extra 60 points there. Could be useful, especially if you're making him your general, adding some command traits and artifacts to him. And he's still good. For 260 points, it's awesome. Take Lord Kroak when you can't fit in Source Guard. He's decently tough enough with that 4-up aftershave. Maybe if you need the extra chance at command points. So if you just love those command points and you want the extra chance at the command points and don't want to spend an artifact or the command trait on that, then you can take Croak. Or if you're building for that spammable spell. So if you're building with the Astrolith Bearer, with a Vassal, with the Balewind, then maybe that spammable spell, you can push that range out further. It's not. I don't think you're going to hit anything turn 1 with it, but you can push it out further from its original 10 inches. I think those are the breakdown on which ones I'm taking. I think you'll see the basis of these lists is going to be this, and this is what I was talking about when Croak is more. In reality, he's more expensive than 320 because you're taking Croak, you're taking the Astrolith Bearer to extend his range and give him a +1. And then Source Guard to help negate the wounds, and then a Balewind Vortex to give him the save and the push out the range a little bit more. So that's 600 points. Is Croak worth 600 points? If you can get in range of that spammable spell, then yes. I don't know. I would not take that setup if all you're doing is you're wanting the extra command points and the border-wide mortals onto their heroes. So this is when you're going to focus on, I'm going to get him in range to do his spammable spell. Here's what I'm taking. I really want to control that spell phase, the magic phase. And you see the same thing with the Slann. So the Slann, that same loadout just comes out at 540. So that's kind of your baseline tax for taking Croak or the Slann. You're looking at reserving about 600 points for an optimum Slann or Croak build. And throw on some endless spells, put in your battle line, and of course, lots of salamanders. Until they change our points value. Alright, that's my thoughts on Croak versus Slann. I think they're solid. I hope they don't just get completely nerfed in the points update. I know there's a lot of people saying Croak is overpowered. I don't think he's that bad right now. I think he's pointed about right. On his own, he's not doing a ton of damage. If you buff him correctly, he can be. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what GW does. Let me know what y'all think. Croak or Slann? Or are you going crazy and taking multiples? It can work. All right, we'll see y'all.